If we make random characters, why can't we make random maps? And we certainly can. And again, we'll just sort of like shotgun details up there. We'll interpret what they mean, and then we will build a city, a region, something around that. Just use your vacation to recharge your batteries, have fun, and go to a theme park or a water park. Hey, I live 10 minutes away from both those things, Pat. Okay. So here's a few things for us to consider. We'll just do something like a random map creation worksheet. Oh, you know what? We're still in the tavern. Well, boo. We gotta change this music up. Whoop. Oh, way too big. We'll go into the dark future. Another new song from Tabletop Audio. Make sure my headphones here aren't being too loud. There we go. All right. We're going to draw it out, Pat. I have MS Paint open and ready to use because that is the cartography tool of professionals. There's going to be a couple things for us to consider. If we come down... Ooh, I think I went too far. Here we go. If we come down here to settlements, and this can also apply to a region. Race relations. And all of these are going to be D20 rolls. Then we're going to have the majority race, minority race, and the ruler's status. Notable traits. Known for its current calamity. And I enjoy giving at least 3 interesting pieces of scenery to a region. One way you could do that is to go 2 monuments in a weird locale, or you could just, I don't know, make something up yourself, or go 3 weird locales. Maybe it's a very magical area you're generating. If we go with this, let's go Monument 1, Monument 2, Weird Locale. Also, you can do this in reverse order if you want to make a if you want to make the map first and then populate it, or if you want to populate things and draw the map around it, whichever works best for you. This is in the DMG, Captain Vanderclock, but we're going to go vanilla DMG. The text on the stream looks blurry. Maybe, I don't know if the font is what's affecting it. If there's a better font that I can use. Does Arial Black work better? Does this look better for you, Pat? Now, as a side consideration to help you randomly generate a map, Ostomer, thank you very much for your host. And I you know what, Ostomer, thank you for coming back and hosting and, you know, and saying hi and lurking and all that. I really appreciate that. Even the chat looks blurry. Well, I don't know. It's coming through. I think it's coming through at 720, Pat. And that might be something that I will correct either for next week, or we're going to get through it. And when I come back from vacation, because I intend on tweaking some things about the channel, one of the things I'd like to do is bump things up. And if you don't think it'll cause problems for you all out there, maybe to increase things to 1080. Now, how can you figure out random geology or geographic features? Well, rangers and druids share 8 different biomes in which they can specialize their spells or their tracking. And so, while we are using the DMG, Captain Vanderclock, if we take a quick peek over at the player's handbook, and let's just go to druid right here. If you go Circle of the Land, there are 8 different regions or biomes or whatever you'd want to call them that you can specialize in, and rangers have this as well. So what we can do here is we can create a map that primarily focuses on 2 different aspects, or 3, whatever you'd like to do. If we bring up our dice roller here again, we have 8. We're going to roll 2d8. 3 and 2. So we're going to have coast and desert. Also, before we get to our D20 rolls, we're going to roll the D10 and figure out our majority race and minority race. It could just be the text document, Pat. If other things have been looking fine, such as the PDFs, for whatever reason, it could be the font or something along those lines. Unless I'm also looking blurry or something else. Roll a D10. Majority race is 3, and the minority race is 7. Now let's roll some D20s and act as a placeholder for these different areas. Our first one, race relations, is 5. Ruler status, 10. Notable traits, 8. Known for its, 8. The current calamity is 5. Monument number 1 is 2. Monument 2 is 1. How'd that work out, right? Weird locale is 3. Ooh, big series of low rolls. Okay, maybe it's just, I don't know how it's coming out or interacting or something. I can try using, if there's a crisper font, Maybe some fonts don't scale too well with when they get bigger or bolder. I don't know if does regular Arial look better? I don't know then. Grandpa Dragon Bard is on the Discord. I like that. Oh, you kids. One day, I will rise to the top, but it better be soon. I wonder if they have coupons in the marketplace. Dinner at 2, bed at 5. Well, you know, Pat, though, I'm not necessarily changing it, you know, for that sole purpose. But look, if you're having a problem, then I want to find something that works better for presentation. And so it's not an accommodation. I don't want you to feel like you're on the spot, because you're not. But if something can come through better, I'd like to do that. All right, so here we have, much like we had for our random character, this is our campaign setting. You know, this is the campaign setting for the campaign that we're gonna generate on Saturday. That's right, ask for the senior discount too. You know, the early bird special and the senior discount. Now we need to read what does all this mean? What's gonna be on our map? And then challenge ourselves to draw this out. Let's take a look at the monuments. Monument number 2 is a plundered burial mound or pyramid. And the other monument is a sealed burial mound or pyramid. Ooh, all right. Scroll down, and here's our weird locale, is number 3. A wild magic zone. Ooh, maybe someone busted open one of these burial mounds and some magic started leaking out. Roll on the wild magic surge table in the player's handbook whenever a spell is cast within the zone. Yeah, that works out pretty well, doesn't it, Helios? Now we're going to continue to scroll down. Our race relations are 5. We are in harmony. Our majority race is number 3, and that is halflings and half elves. Ruler status is number 10. An illegitimate ruler, and there's a simmering civil war. So things are peaceful, but for how long? Is this actually what the numbers on them are kind of for? Yeah, so if you look here, Captain Vanderclock, there are random generation charts for terrains and settlements in the DMG. And well, I rolled d20s for these, and now we're interpreting what those numbers mean. This region is known for 8, the headquarters of a powerful family or guild. This region or city is known for 8 tough warriors. And the current calamity is number 5. There is a plague or famine that sparks riots. And that's probably not helping this civil war brewing as well. Now, from just this, have you already started to imagine some kind of a region, or heck, this is a campaign location. Do you have enough clues up here that are you already starting to think of some sparks of campaign ideas? You know, something, you know, is it up to the PCs to quell the Civil War, or start the Civil War, or to go on an adventure in the pyramid, or to reseal the pyramid and purify the angry spirits or whatever from within? And how can you do that while within a wild magic zone? Hey, Live, good to see you again. It's been a little while. Why halflings? Why is it always those damn ankle biters? And we'll go odds, lightfoot, even stout for the mix. I'll just roll a d4. Odds. So halflings in general are the majority race. Although there is a minority, a significant minority of half-elves. And you're like, well, how does that work? How is there... Shouldn't we have humans and elves? We very well may, but there may not be a lot of them. And ask yourself this question. How can you have a significant number of a half-race? Well, maybe there were a lot of humans and elves, and they died out, and their half-elves made half-elves, who made half-elves, who made half-elves. And we're actually treating half-elves as a legitimate species that doesn't require the two others anymore. Or, if we're talking about some sort of a remote, if we're talking about some sort of a remote region, what if there's like a super minority human, super minority elf, and the halflings have some kind of a fertility god? And or what if the elves and humans are kept as slaves, or an underclass, like a permanent underclass, as are, I mean, there's harmony, but maybe the half-elves are seen as better of the two. And so almost in that way, you know how like Conan the Barbarian was, you know, he was sent to, you know, breed women to, you know, give his superior genes or whatever. Maybe these halflings had some kind of a cult of fertility, or it's just those ancient morals of the time where we wanted to breed a specific people, and so that's what happened. And so now you have the majority halflings, and you actually have a minority, but this could be what, 70-30, and then the humans and the, you know, the humans and the elves are even smaller minorities there. But we're purposely making more half-elves, either because we have to take the two and always pineapple pen them together to get a bunch of half-elf kids, or this place, maybe it started out as a human and elf area, and they lived together, and they did produce half-elves as a result of that. And maybe each of these pyramids are actually a burial place for humans of importance or not importance, and of elves to do the same. And the halflings came in at some point in time and took it over. But even though there was war, maybe they actually set to rights what was brewing before. You know, disparities between elves and humans. Maybe it was a bad rulership. And so, you know, mommy and daddy, you know, stepmom, stepdad, halfling come in, and they sort of adopt the children born out of this strife. And then the halflings and the elves have just made themselves irrelevant or extinct. And so now it's only the half-elves. And of course, look, if you make that genetic square, that Punnett square, you'll make humans occasionally, and you'll make elves occasionally, but you'll mostly make other half-elves. The powerful family plundered the burial mound and caused the plague to sweep the land? Yeah. It could be that they uncorked one of these tombs, and the plague could have come about as a curse, or maybe there was a literal plague holed up in that burial mound. Or, Pat, it could be wild magic seeped out. What if that tomb is a realm? What if each of these tombs, The elven one was like, I don't know, had a portal to the Feywild, and the human one had a portal to the Shadowfell or something. It doesn't have to be as, yin yang like that. It could be whatever. But the wild magic maybe started seeping out of one, and or the plague. Maybe it's a magical plague, and we want to just combine them together. They released the plague hounds. Helio says the powerful family might be pureblood humans or elves. Yeah, that's true, right? Because they're a super minority, but they're also necessary to keep half-elves going, Helios. That could very well be. So there might only be, like, 4 of each family, but they're very well taken care of by the state, almost as, like, domesticated and placated. They're figureheads, because they're really meant to just keep your bloodlines going, keep your bloodlines pure, and as we need you to, we would like you to make us more half-elves. And here I thought it was just pain as weakness leaving the body. It could be, Helios, depending on the culture. It could very well be for religious reasons, for secular reasons. It could just be, look, this is how we've always done it. Maybe we don't have a lot of contact with the outside world, and there's no reason to change it. We love our little charismatic half-elves running around. We're very beautiful people. Or, how about this too? Think about this. What if the half-elves are just that? Halfling elves. Because it doesn't always have to be humans. I mean, the elf part seems locked in. So what if there's just kind of this smaller sized elf, and we combine the traits and it turns out to be a unique race of halfling elves? That could very well be. We're given roleplay prompts in this creation process, and we have the complete power to take things literally or metaphorically, or to step sideways and examine things from a different angle. We can make custom content if we desire. Quarterling, says Pat. So now that we have our reference, why don't we go over here and take a look at what we can do. I'll also sip on some lemonade because yum. Short, pointy-eared bards. That's right. Cops, in one of my groups, there's a race of dwarf elf half-breeds. Ooh, interesting, Moxie. Did you stat them out, or did you reskin, or did you just reskin another race that already exists? Alright, so we have desert and we have coast. Let's get creative. This is basic MS Paint. Nothing fancy here. And we're going to take the Bob Ross approach. There is no mistakes. Let's just roll with what we do. Think about the basics and work up from the basics and work in, well, MS Paint doesn't have layers, but we can work in layers in a way. It's one that you've done up yourself. That's really cool though, Moxie. Not that you have to if you want to kind of keep it, a channel secret, an ancient Moxie secret. You could do so, but if you have that written up and you want to share it either here or on the Discord, that could help. And in fact, Moxie, if you have experience doing that, there was someone over here in general that actually was just looking for some help in creating a custom race. If we come up here, Drake Silvac was looking at making a custom race of beefier cat people than what Tabaxi have to offer. At least that was my take on it. Or wait, I'm sorry, it was Bobby. Although I think Drake kind of got on board with it here. So if you do want to help out, you're welcome to do so, but none of you are obligated to get tags like RP Mentor, Roll20 Mentor, something like that. All right, let's give us some room to play. Why don't we make something kind of like, let's make a peninsula. Let's kind of have it come up. By the way, if you have a shaky hand or something, oh man, you could do some really killer coastlines. In fact, why don't we do, this could be interesting. Let me do this, we'll have it come up. There we go. And then we're going to make some coastline here. This doesn't necessarily have to... Oh, thank you very much, Lethality Complex. Welcome aboard and along with us. This doesn't have to just represent beach. This tan color is very good at representing maybe arid land, wasteland, things along those lines. So it kind of comes up and it stops here. And in fact, a lot of this could very well just be desert, except maybe there's some sort of like a plateau over here. And we can also put in some kind of an island in this bay. Again, have fun with it. Use space, use negative space. Then we come back over here. Maybe the coastline kind of picks up. Wibble wobbles, comes down this way. And then we're going back to desert down here. So if we do this, now we can fill in here. All right, it's going to get bright. Hang on. All right, so we've filled our two major, geological features, desert and coast. Hey, Lethality. Oh, he's one of the peeps from the Gathering of Nerds. Oh, awesome. Lethality Complex. Well, welcome aboard, or we'll welcome a bard if you're a bard as well. I'm glad you're liking this, Helios. Now, just because we've rolled up coast and desert as being our two random terrain features, doesn't mean we can't put other things. And in fact, Helios, what are we missing for a civilization to exist in this environment? I'll pose the question to you. What is missing from this map? Hey, there's an answer. Although specifically, we have water. We have tons of water on this map already. Ah. Well, this is lemonade. There is not a drop to drink. Well, that won't do. Many of your maps, especially if they are... Well, alright, so... we'll get there. We'll get there soon, Lethality. This may be MS Paint, but we will have topography and such. For a civilization to flourish, you need a source of fresh water. Whether it's an oasis or some other kind of spring, whether it is mountain runoff, or if you just want to explain that they have a magical desalination plant. Rivers that, originate hither and thither. Fresh water is crucial for a civilization to flourish. Unless for some reason you made a race of people who can drink salt water, and I guarantee you that they will take over the world. If they don't have to process their water, or at least not as much, think about that. Even for here, what would happen if we had the ability to drink salt water? Bores underground lakes, yep, various wells. There's a neat little program I'm using to make a game called World Engine. Derek says I usually start with mountains and rivers. That almost dictates everything else. The water for sure, and of course the water, where's that coming from? Most often, it is coming because of mountains. Because think about it. Mountains catch clouds and moisture. Mountains allow for precipitation. Easier facilitation, because you get the higher, it gets colder, and then everything kind of, gets together here. I know I'm using professional terms. I'm kind of derping out on them right now. Sorry about that. I'm usually a little better. Makes maps of worlds. Well, if you want to share a link to it or whatnot, Bobicus, you're welcome. Now, as Derek said, there's nothing keeping us from actually having some kind of a mountain range. In fact, if this is maybe by virtue of being more wasteland, or at least not taken over by desert, maybe that's because there is a mountain of some variety here that's sticking up, and maybe there's even another one here. And in fact, what if we even made kind of a chain of them? The deserts kind of, rounded them out. Think about erosion. Think about a lot of these forces. What do you see? What exists in deserts? So maybe this was once a really high and proud, peninsula, or like a mountain range coming up here. But it's really just been ground and smoothed over time by the sand shifting back and forth. In fact, we can even just fill this in and say, well, this is actually just sort of a mountain popping up out of here. And then we can put some sort of an interesting peak. Maybe there's something... Let's go. There's a mountain range going here. Mountains are usually created when tectonic plates push up, either together, or one goes under and one comes up. Sometimes they come together and they kind of curl up as they go down, and that can also create a fault and even some hills or mountains. Yeah, condensation. Yep. Or, that's true, Captain. There's nothing saying that this that we can't go through, and instead of brown, this is now igneous. This could be an igneous mountain range. And so we actually have a volcano. And what could cause something like this, by the way, is if there's a hot spot underneath a tectonic plate, and the hot spot remains the same, but as the plate moves over top it, eruption, 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 eruption. And so each of these little mountains could have been created by the tectonic plate passing over the same hot spot, and that hot spot would just poke up every couple thousand years and make a little mini volcanic mountain, and then settle down. The plate shifts, it pops up again, and it goes from there. Oh, yeah. Why did the channel, for some reason, is I don't know why, it's still thinking I'm auto-hosting Twitch Plays Pokemon, and it just randomly decided to to play that on my channel. That shouldn't be happening, but okay, I think that's fixed now. Hopefully it doesn't revert back. It really wanted to go back and play Twitch Plays Pokemon with you all here. You know, so think about what looks cool. If we do that, then what if we have something? Oh, thank you, Lethality Complex. Natural filtration through the sand of the mountains into streams. Oh, I guess it could have. Now, at this point, then, do you want to... Yep, civilization is always found downriver. So, just, again, this is what... We're thinking in layers, even if we can't artistically do layers in MS Paint. If this is igneous, what if, you know, you could have this be thematic. What if, for some reason, then there's a bunch of obsidian, or through the volcanic process, there was enough heat in silicon in the sand and some other ingredients on this peninsula. And what if, in a way, this is almost, we could almost call this like the glass desert. And so really, all around here, whoops. What if all, oh, this is not going to be the right color for what I want to do. Let's go with orange, I guess. So what if there's obsidian glass, but what if still around the 3 here, you can actually just find different either fumaroles from lightning, or it's either still kind of actively simmering, but something here, or these are just hills of glass, volcanic or made from the silicate in the sand. Now, that's not a feature that we randomly rolled up, but again, use this as a basis and tell your story from this starting position over here. So maybe they almost, there might be a side business of mining glass. All right, so in either case, if we want to go with this, maybe we'll still put a little active hotspot. If it's kind of coming out this way, this looks more like it's drifting. So we'll say that there's a hot spot right here. Yeah, that's true. Think of think of that too. Traveling through the desert would be very interesting, because as the glass reflects the light, or you might even get some kind of magnification, or not magnification, as the light is focused to a point. You know, what if there's a place here that's just known as we want to talk about Thermopylae, right? The hot gates of 300. Or, you know, think of in the Never-Ending Story. You remember the two sphinxes that judge people as they pass? You know, what if these mountains have something where these natural glass blobs that were created in the volcanic eruption, or just polished over time by sand and everything else? What if at a certain time of day, or a certain time of year, and or a certain season, when the sun hits them, they actually carve natural, I don't know, patterns, or it's a religious site because of some sort of prismatic effect, and actually it's not lethal. It creates a light garden. I don't know if any of you know, like, if you have a light garden or whatnot. If you want to plant a light garden, it's easy. Get a couple prisms and put them in your windowsill and watch what they do to your room all day long. It could also blind you if you're in the middle of the desert and suddenly, you know, the sun sinks to a particular angle, and then like a shoom, like a big focused beam of light just sort of like, you know, streaks across the land. Lethality, if there's a business of mining glass, especially if it's obsidian, and place is known for its warriors, it might also be known for crafting slashing weapons of obsidian that are sharper than any steel blade, as obsidian can be sharpened thin enough. Yes, and in fact, we still use obsidian scalpels and other things today to make even finer cuts than a normal, like a surgical stainless steel scalpel. Hey, Yeehaw, welcome back. Thank you for finding us again. So now we have to think of fresh water. Usually, storm patterns are going to be different depending on hemisphere, or look, this is a fantasy world. If we do a standard, it blows in from west to east, then the storms are coming this way, and you have to think what's going to be blocking or catching the rain or the storms. In fact, if that's the case here, there could even be a very thin strip just from rainfall alone, but maybe just this part of the desert before it goes back to being desert actually is just, it's capable of the fresh water alone, and then the clouds just dry out as they come across. If these areas catch them, then that could deposit water back on this side over here, because the clouds are caught coming left to right, and so the water would be caught and come back down and head back to the left. You can also say, well, if especially if this is still steaming or giving off gases or dust and things that can hold on to moisture, and don't forget the water temperature of the sea or ocean around this place also creates humidity and of pure water, because the salt doesn't go up with the water vapor. Yeah, thank you for stopping by again, Yeehaw. Did you talk to your coworkers about letting you sit in on a D&D game? So maybe what we see, right? So we have this mountain, and it might, what if this actually pools? So we have a little bit of a mountain lake here. And then remember, water takes the path of least resistance. Always. So by virtue of putting in rivers, you have started your journey in topography. So this would probably come down, and it would end up going out to sea. And heck, it might even branch off and follow another course out this way. There might then be a stream that comes down this way from the mountain out to sea. And then we can make like a little brackish indicator here. There we go. Some might even come over the top, and you might even have a lone river just kind of meandering, and maybe it then sinks into a bit of a saltwater estuary. And so you get brackish water here, but this is actually kind of a saltwater marsh that has a freshwater feed. So you actually have a little bit of swampland over here. Now, for what's going on here, if we're saying, all right, so if it's blowing in, this is probably catching a lot of it, and it's catching all the moisture that this bay is making. So we're going to have a lot more water here. And this is just from the natural rainfall. What's happening here? Well, this is probably going to be a lot more dust and sand. But if we're saying that the volcanic smoke and gases and ash and all that helps to bind water vapor and make things rain, depending on the prevailing winds, this could go on to actually make, if this is almost causing rainfall on a low-key basis, maybe this volcano is just sort of on a simmer right now, then we can almost go in and fill in that here is more, this is blown over this way, so probably over like this. Here could be a little bit more fertile, a little bit more bountiful because of the rain. And if you want to do something too, like if kind of an ash rain falls every now and again, well, the water's still going to get deposited, the ash is going to dry and blow out to sea. And so what if we have something like over here it's called the Black River, because it's fresh water, but it's mixed with ash and other carbonized matter. In fact, I don't know, if you're drinking from, you know, a carbonized water source, that might actually help keep you, you know, healthier. You know, a lot of people rub charcoal on their teeth, and you take charcoal to be cleaner and whatnot. So what if we almost have like a carbonized water? You know, like there's a little lake of it, you know, right here, and it'll flow up and out to sea, and we'll still get the little bit of a brackish. But the water here is colored differently. It might not even pour down from the mountain, because it's just sort of a basin that collects and then trickles out in the ways that it will. There we go. And if you want just a good old-fashioned oasis, something like that could pop up. I don't know, where do you want it? Something is causing the oasis. There's a lot of activity. In fact, it may sound weird, because if you live in a desert, you're like, oh, but do I want to take a sauna, or do I want to take a hot springs bath? Oh, heck yeah, it'll be purifying, and it'll be, you know, it'll still be a bath. And the hot water would, at least hopefully, be more sanitary, of course. I mean, we all hear horror stories of jacuzzis and hot tubs. But there's nothing saying that there couldn't be just a random, I don't know. So rain kind of comes in, or it forms here. Something can happen. We get some sort of a well, or a civilization could have lived here before, and they just dug a well or an oasis, or there's just some other inland lake here. Do we need a reason? Not necessarily. Do you want it to just look good? Yeah, that's fine too. Now, if we have things going this way, yeah, the coast. Why don't we have this river kind of meanders through here, and it'll just dump out into the sea here. Now, much like the Nile, or you know, we have the two, oh shoot, shame on me for not remembering, the two rivers that form the Fertile Crescent in Mesopotamia. The Tigris and the Euphrates. There we go. Yeah, it's an area for a hot springs episode, and we have plenty of beach for a beach episode. Moxie, I like the way you think. You got moxie, kid. If this is the case, and there's a steady supply of water, it might only be a couple miles around, but you will get farmland, right? You'll have things be a little bit more vibrant. Maybe something happens here, and so it kind of like floods out. And so we actually have this fertile strip that is flowing along the banks of this river. And of course, the same thing can be said up here. Though, if you want to say that this is kind of a catch-all, yes, we have rivers, but if you think that this would actually just open up entire areas, that's fine as well. You know, because yeah, you get rainfall and it's caught and it's absorbed and it's made into a river that flows from the mountains here. But maybe this has really just created a big, you know, a coastal plains, or if you don't want it to be super fertile, it could be like Greece in the Mediterranean. You know, it's rocky. You can grow stuff there, and some trees and vegetables thrive above others. So just because it's green doesn't mean you have the breadbasket of America, the flowing, you know, just thousands of square miles of grain that is, you know, wonderful and bountiful and harvested. You can still have open patches. There could even still be little desert patches, or, you know, stones that were like thrown out of a volcanic eruption, and so you actually have like a little field of igneous rubble, that kind of a thing. Ashen soil is more fertile for farming as well, and so maybe the breadbasket is down here, and it's kind of a dangerous situation because you're working against a live, you know, it's simmering, it's live, but it's simmering volcano, and you know, here you have all of this stuff that's coming up, and you know what? That could probably even show that there's some thermal vents or whatnot. Oases are rivers underground. Yeah, so there's it could even be something like maybe this mountain is collecting water, and through some reason there's an underground river that does spring up here. It's your world. Populate it and think about, again, what does a civilization need to thrive? You think exploring a desert sounds really cool and challenging, to be honest, says Boy Howdy Yeehaw. Yeah, floodplains. It could just be above sea level, similar to New Orlando. Helios, I begin at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, Dark Wolf. See you later. Lethality complex volcanoes also make good points for points where the elemental planes might cross the material, especially the elemental plane of fire. Yes, if you do choose to play in a multiverse, it's a very liminal area for something like that to happen. Oh, and Boy Howdy Yeehaw, you found out that another one of your coworkers plays D&D too. Yes, we are everywhere. And you're going to watch them play on Saturday? Nice. That's excellent. Please, when you get the opportunity, come back and tell us how it is, either on stream, Yeehaw, or if you want to go to Tales from the Tabletop over here on our Discord. If you come over to Tales from the Tabletop, I would love to hear your first time adventure, even if you're not playing and you're just watching. I'd love to get your first time impression about what you saw and what you thought. So now we have some basic features set up, and now that we have the landscape, we can go back to our randomly rolled features for the region. Now, halflings and half-elves, does that give a geographical, impression? Maybe not, but if we're using this as a campaign environment, you're going to use this to describe architecture, culture, values, economy, a host of different things, which then, of course, can, over time, move along a geological scale. There's an illegitimate ruler in a simmering civil war. It is headquarters to a powerful family or guild, and maybe that powerful family is actually located here. If this is the breadbasket, and they run, the powerful family runs the hot springs operation, because not only do people come down to have lewd hot springs episodes, but this is also it's an extremely fertile area for growing, or maybe in this religion, if we're going with, humans and elves are kept to make these cute, wonderful half-elf babies that the halflings absolutely adore. This could be the breadbasket. This is their fertile crescent, literally and metaphorically. And so there's a powerful family that rules over this portion, as it provides so much grain, and it provides so much entertainment, and it provides, it's the honeymoon location that everyone goes to and then comes back and, populates the rest of this place. There's a lot to it. It's a tourist destination, so maybe the family's in control of that. And so the architecture and the culture here in just this strip of land, right? We don't have a scale. It's not like every inch or, every 2 centimeters or every, whatever is, every X is Y. This could be 2 miles. It could be 20 miles. It could be 3,000 kilometers. Scale it to what you'd like. This is all conceptual. How does this work? Figure it out. Yep, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Helios. T. Tevro, also an ash zone, could depend on the direction of the wind. Yes, we were going with the default presumption that it was going west to east. Pat says, freaking spell checker, I was trying to spell the LA city that flooded from a hurricane. Oh, LA is in Louisiana. New Orleans. Deck him in the face, flip over the table, says Vuxie was taken. So, just as a... Oh. Yeah, there you go, JT, right? Yeehaw. Oh, are you talking about your coworker? If so, then that's great energy, and I'm glad that you're getting into it, and you're getting to see how passionate about role-playing people can be. So, Taken, is this in reply to someone else, or if that's a standalone comment down there at the end? This is a PG-13 stream, so I want to keep things civil. I want to keep things relevant. Yeah, we're doing some tongue-in-cheek, commentary, but I want to keep it in that context. Oh, how passionate I am? Oh, thank you. Yeehaw. It's known for its tough warriors. Again, this is all campaign thoughts and fodder. There's a plague or a famine. Now, if you want to represent that, what you can go back and do is say, well, maybe, just maybe, there used to be. Yep, we are passionate people, Coffee Cat. What if there was another, I don't know, oasis area here? It wasn't a river, it was nothing big, but it dried up, and maybe this is the source of the plague. Maybe this is where one of the pyramids are. Because now, look, we're getting into Monument 1 and Monument 2. There's a plundered burial mound or pyramid and a sealed burial mound or pyramid. There's a wild magic zone, and a plague or famine is sparking riots. What? Why? We've been given prompts. Connect the dots and have it make sense to you. If you're the DM and it makes sense to you, your players will catch along. They'll come along and they'll say, that's fine. You can answer the basic questions on how things work, where things are. That's really all I need to interact, and this is a cool world because I haven't thought of something like that before. All right, Tracy, thank you for popping in and saying hi. Now the question is, where do we want to put these pyramids? What if maybe there's twin oases, and so the one that was opened up, maybe that's what released the plague here, and so this is going to come up, and there's one pyramid, and so maybe there's a sealed pyramid. Maybe the sealed one is actually over here by the other oasis, singular. With lithium? Oh, we're living in the future now, Tevro. Is this a random gen world? How did we get our prompts for stuff? We went to the We went to the Dungeon Master's Guide, and we followed the rules for random settlements, as well as a couple other things above here, for a weird locale and for some monuments. The geology of the two major geographic or geological features were taken from the Druid circles, like your specialty, and this chart is also shared by rangers. And so we just rolled a d8 twice to determine which two major biomes should be featured on this map. Yep, that could be Boy Howdy, or if opening up that pyramid or that burial mound didn't release a plague. Remember, we have a wild magic zone. Maybe opening the pyramid released magic, weird magic, foreign magic, ancient magic, or something along those lines. And so the plague could be something different. In fact, what if the plague is just it's something up here, or if there's a plague or famine, maybe this powerful family's in a panic because suddenly their rice, their wheat, their barley isn't growing as it should be. And that's causing supply chain disruptions, although it was never called that in the ancient world. It's causing supply chain disruptions all throughout the rest of this region, and it's causing riots and panic. So they can be the same, they could be different. It's up to us. I mean, it's up to you singularly, us as a community, to say what would we want to do. Would work really well with mummies or talks of an ancient race or something similar. Yes, lethality. Yeehaw, an ancient pyramid with a plague shut away. Yep, maybe explorers exhumed graves. It could have. If it's not the PCs, maybe they have to go in and investigate and clean up the mess that NPCs or even like villains or the BBEG. You know, he broke in. He doesn't care. He wanted the ancient artifact. He got out, and damn the consequences. Maybe the world is a giant undulating blob. Pat says maybe the plague made the humans infertile, or maybe the halflings. Ooh, that would be yeah, that could spark something else too. A plague isn't just dying because you bust out in a bunch of pustules and whatever. It could be an affliction of some other kind. Infertility can be a huge plague. It plagues many parts of the ancient world for sure. Or it could be a plague of beetles. It's not even a disease. It's a plague of beetles or locusts or toads. I mean, go back. This is Old Testament stuff we're talking about here. It could be maybe in a way, if you want to, well, floods might be their own thing on the chart, but plague could be a rising water. That could even be then, if a storm's coming in, suddenly salt water washes into a lot of these fields, then you just have salted fields. And how are you going to take care of that? Things to think about. Yeah, locusts eating crops, Coffee Cat. Could be blocking the trade routes. So maybe from the one that opened, we will illustrate that we have a wild magic zone. And the wild magic zone just sort of like radiates. And interestingly enough, maybe it can even be felt that far away. And this could be its own mystery too. What, for the sealed one, if this has sort of like a known area of wild magic that's trailing in the direction of the other pyramid, what's in the other pyramid and what will happen if it's released? Here, I'll move out of the way. What might a wild magic zone cause? I will show you. Boy howdy yeehaw, I want you to type in exclamation point 1D100. Ooh, Pat, that's another good consideration as well. That's an excellent consideration. What if the plague is actually an invasion? All right, so boy howdy, you are the party's healer, and you just finished fighting off some bandits that were hiding in the sand dunes, trying to waylay your caravan. Your party member is critically injured, and you're administering emergency curative magic. You, in addition to your cure spell, you cast confusion centered on yourself. What are you going to do? Another multiversal concept that the wild magic zone might be caused by is maybe the presence of matter from limbo. It could be something like that, lethality. We had indicated that maybe each of the pyramids is a gateway itself to another realm. Though, I mean, personally, I don't personally play with multiple dimensions. Nor do we have extra dimensional spaces and a couple other things in my game. But don't let I'm trying not to let my own biases affect what we're conceptualizing. You made a very good point. There's a rate of infection where a cleric can't keep casting Cure Disease. By the time they rest up, more individuals already got infected than they healed in the first place. Yeah, Randakuo, there could be a portal in the pyramid as well. So that's what the wild magic means, boy howdy. You're trying to help your friend in need, and suddenly you cast confusion. All right, so let's say you're still traveling through this magic realm, and you want to create food and water, magical food and water for your companions. Boy howdy, I want you to do another D100 roll, exclamation point 1D100. And let's see what happens when you try and manifest magical food and water for your party to live on as you're traveling through the desert. Ooh, interesting thought, Pat. That's true as well. It's mutagenic. It's not necessarily a disease in a falling apart way. In my world, there's indeed a hell, and it's called the material plane. That's great. All right, so boy howdy yeehaw, you want to provide, delicious magical fruits and pure water for your people. And as you cast your spell, the wild magic also takes place, and you and all creatures within 30 feet of you gain vulnerability to piercing damage for the next minute. That might not be as bad as you're trying to drink water, but think about what happened if you're trying to cast that cure spell in the middle of combat, and suddenly you and everyone else in 30 feet of you, that could be a lot of people, are now taking double damage from arrows, daggers, short swords, spears, darts, rapiers, etc. You want to talk about a complication? We're in danger, party. We're specifically unequipped for this. Although, if you want something fun to conceptualize, what if it's something like, so you have a rapier, which is it's a pointy weapon, but what if they're almost using it like a snorkel under the sand? So what if the hollow, so it's almost like a needle, right? A sturdy needle for the rapier. And what if it extends down through the hilt, and then it has like a little flare out? And so the bandits can actually put, they can hold the sword to their mouth, and they can use it as a snorkel and hide under the sand until, I don't know, something is ready to happen and they pop up. Hey, Calamity. Hello, hello. Adorable emoticons as always. Derek, try C running a Promethean game next week if you're interested. Joining a one-shot. Well, no, not needle sand. So a rapier, think of like a fence. This is an approximation. Think of a fencing foil, right? So the blade isn't a pounded out strip of metal. It's more like a needle, right? You poke, poke, poke. So what if these people actually have hollowed needles as swords, and they use them to hide under the sand, and they can actually breathe through their swords? We are finishing up making a random map, Calamity. Yeah, if any of you want to try something out, you want to try a new system, please let Derek know. He is an excellent storyteller, and if you will not be the same person coming out of one of his games as you are going in. Please take him up on the offer to play. If you're available, you're curious, you want something, you're interested in something to do, talk to him, see if his game and his style is appropriate for you, and then just go and have fun. Oh, well, some people don't, yeehaw. You're back but on your phone now. Well, welcome back, Helios. So yes, this temple was sacked, and it has released this. And then we've come up with all kinds of interesting concepts for what the plague can be. Is it mutagenic? Is it fatal? Is it a plague of rats or spiders? What if it's a plague of mushrooms? I don't know. Like spores. Spores fly in, and suddenly mushrooms are growing everywhere, and it's causing problems. It could be a benign thing. Heck, the mushrooms might actually be edible. But the thing is, they grow so quickly that anything that they grow on, which could include people, or it could be, wood or plants or anything else, anything these things grow off of just like suck the life out of them. So everywhere you have these bountiful, huge mushrooms that are tasty and nutritious and edible, unfortunately, they grew out of your family and pets. They grew out of your wooden house that is now desiccated and blowing away in the wind. They're growing out of the cattle, or they're growing out of the you had the plague of locusts, and now the spores moved in, and they're growing out of the grasshoppers. If anything, you have a plague of edible, nutritious food everywhere, except it's destroying everything. Yeah, oh, that's true as well. You know what? The sands, not just in the desert, boy howdy, but if there is in fact like crystal or glass shards, that are being eroded in the wind, everything over here, this could very well just be a long-term kill zone. People go blind, deaf, they have respiratory problems, etc. So it, almost like as the winds blow in, something happens here, and just here is just if you stay too long here, you're going to go blind, you're going to go deaf. It'll be a death from 1,000 cuts or something along those lines. Or it's like eating fiberglass. So it'll just be like, millions of little scratches all over the inside and outside of you. That's an excellent point to bring up. It could be that the plague just causes plants to double or triple in size. Yeah. And it immediately saps up all the nutrients. So the water can't keep up. The fertility of the soil can't keep up. It's a good plague to have, and it's also a horrible plague to have. What a night for a curse. That's an excellent summary, Derek, of what Prometheus is. So, you all have had your geology lesson. If we want to go into topography, we can do that, but there's not a ton of mountains or things here. Yeah, I guess we could do some stuff for the volcanoes. But as we weren't super focused on that, it is what it is on this map. We can always go into more detail. I could make like a big mountain here and put in, you know, the arrows and the, every line is 20 feet of elevation or whatever, like 8 meters, something along those lines. Just cover the damn crystal desert with sun-bleached skeletons for the right aesthetic. Horror admits beauty. Yeehaw! You came to us a complete newbie yesterday, and now look at you. Look at you tonight, boy howdy yeehaw. You are in this. You are in the zone. You're creative. You're producing, and you're doing it with wit and a little bit of morbidity. The best kinds of plagues are ones with upsides. It's sticking you in the face, but it's healing you whilst it's doing this thing. Yeah. It's like a rogue having healing daggers. I'll heal you for D8, but I'm punching you, I'm puncturing you for 1D4. I'll heal you, but I gotta stab, stab, stab. Oh, you have kidney damage? Let's kind of sneak attack and, we'll stir it around a little bit here. I'm healing you. Hang on. There you go, yeehaw. You did a thing. So, you came up with some amazing ideas. It's wonderful. I'm going to get up and take another break. I'm going to sip some lemonade. I don't think I'll go the full 10 minutes, just because we have a lot of high energy. I'm going to get one more little piece of lasagna, I think, while I'm up. I'm going to stare at my cat. It's really creepy, because when he's asleep, you know how they have the third eyelid? Well, his are just, like, they go back slowly. So as I looked over at him, like, he looked up at me and he opened his eyes, but we had to wait like a second for his third eyelids to pull back and so he could see me. Mace of Healing that inflicts 1d6 of damage but heals 1d8. Had that in a game. Oh, interesting, Pat. And I presume it only worked if you swung it at full blow, so you couldn't just go up and kind of bop 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 people for 1 damage but heal the greater amount. Yeah, Derek, as Yeehaw was describing that, totally, that hit the vibe. Heal 4 on 6 damage. Yeah, it's efficient. I'm healing you. Horror admits beauty is a good genre. Beauty amidst horror likewise. Very much a fan of that. Oh, yeah. It's dark, but it's actually a rather nasty form of torture. Those kind of weapons, heck yeah. Yeah, we're just going to break your shins over and over with this mace, but don't worry, you'll feel good. Lethality, we actually had a really good conversation about this. As a DM, how do you conceptualize healing in your game? Is it a warm, fluffy hug and everything smells like cotton candy and, it's the best day ever? Or is your fighter actually undergoing consistent torture, being on the front lines, having his bones smashed, his flesh torn, while simultaneously your cleric of mercy and light is reknitting his flesh simultaneous to the damage? And so it's honestly, yeah, you're keeping him alive, but what is the drain? What is the morale loss? How can you continue to fight through this if every cure spell isn't a cotton candy bear hug? Yeah, don't get healed by a priestess of Lolth. It's you're still feeling pain, and in fact, as you're healing, your nerves are reconnecting in your skin, and they're refreshing and they're triggering because they're working now. And also remember, you as a DM can say whether or not a cure spell leaves a scar. Preventing you from dying is a lot different than healing you back cosmetically to where you were before. Think about that. Are you a frontline fighter, paladin, something along those lines? Every time I'm hitting you with my great axe, yes, hit points don't directly represent physical damage. That's very much a point. But let's say that I do land a blow on you, a really solid one, a critical hit that is just It's pulped your organs. You know, and it's done so by like rending you in the side. Is a level 1 cure spell that technically gets you up out of unconsciousness, is it gonna mend you back to look pretty? Heck, is a level 3 spell a level 4 cure spell? Do cure spells even make you look pretty, or do they just fill the gap with quickly knitted together scar tissue? And actually, think about this. Over time, if you're a consistent frontline fighter, how much are you going to have more scar tissue than skin? Will you lose feeling? Maybe that's a mercy. Maybe you've been fighting so long and you've been cured so much. This cycle's gone on so that the majority of your exposed areas, your vitals, your arms, legs, torso, is nothing but unfeeling scar tissue. Yes, you're healthy. You have full hit points. You don't have a broken leg or a broken rib. But what was the cost of it? Think about that as a DM. Tracy, yep, cure wounds basically emergency. Yeah, boy howdy, talk if you want to know that, talk to Derek and he will describe to you how his cure spell works. Boy howdy, in various games I ran, all magic items had positive aspects and negative aspects, including cursed items. Lethality says it depends on the damage and what genre or concept I'm running. For the most part, it'll be a gentle and numbing, but in some cases, I run a separate set of hit points, specifically for psychological damage, and any person who gets healed physically also takes that in psychic damage. Ooh, that is an interesting concept, Lethality. Mokoki, what do you prefer, fantasy or sci-fi and role-playing? Well, Mokoki, welcome, first of all. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for speaking up and asking such a cool question. I have played both. I personally prefer fantasy. I have no objections to sci-fi. Or even present day. Kind of like World of Darkness stuff, or I guess you could argue near future, like a Shadowrun, or maybe a Cyberpunk, maybe. I tend to enjoy fantasy role-playing, though, personally. But I don't... I'm very open-minded. Still based on hit dice, but uses wisdom rather than con for calculation. That's a cool trick, Lethality. Maybe the nerves don't actually grow back. Hey, there you go, Captain. The curing is just enough to knit you back together. It doesn't mean it has to reconnect. You don't regrow hair. You may not regrow your nerve endings. You have appropriate colored flesh or even inappropriate colored flesh. What if it just generates skin with no pigmentation? So what if you almost get these almost windows into your body? They might be opaque or only just enough that you can peer inside and see things happening. So what if the magical curing gives you windows into the person that you're curing, because a translucent like flesh is what is conjured to fill in the gap? Pardon me. Sure, I don't know the spell spare the dying. They do ever know maintain the suffering. All right, so I'm gonna get up and take my break. Thank you all. You're imaginative, and we can just when I come back, we can continue this conversation for sure. My break, don't let that interrupt what you all are talking about over here. In fact, I will give you all a forward on add points all 40. I give this away in our part 3 normally, but I want to reward you and say thank you all for being so imaginative, creative, and participatory in the discussion that we're having. Okay, give me at least 5 minutes, no more than 10, and I'll be back and we'll continue.